mercy and His grace stay with me and brought me.
Welcome to this edition of Let's Chat America with your radio host, the Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham. This weekly program opens the phone lines for you to call in live and share your questions or comments. On this program, we discuss the latest news and opinions of things that may affect the lives of those here in Daytona Beach and the nation. So join Dr. Durham for today's program.
Good afternoon, beloved, and welcome to this edition of Let's Chat America. I'm your host, the Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham. So delighted to be broadcasting to you today from the city gorgeous of Daytona Beach, Florida. We are in the studio of Joy 106.3 FM. This is Daytona's favorite. I got to say, it's more than just Daytona. It is the favorite gospel station, not just here, but across Volusia County. Welcome to the broadcast. We have a gorgeous day in Daytona Beach. The weather is in the mid-80s, which is where we should probably wind up for the rest of today. Maybe some showers later. We're in that rainy season here in Florida, where every afternoon there is the possibility with our humidity that we may have an afternoon shower. So make sure you keep that umbrella handy. And if you're going out, you never know when that shower might pop up. Today, we've got a great program lined up for you. Paulette, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Those who are coming in on Facebook, thank you for being on the air today with us, watching as well as listening. My guest will be talking to you in just a few minutes this afternoon. Got a great guest, great event that's coming to our area, and so we wanted to just highlight it a little bit so that people would know about it, know what's going on, and that's the purpose of us being on these airwaves, is to let you know what's happening around Volusia County and particularly here in Daytona Beach, Florida. Listen, I want everyone to continue to be vigilant, continue to be safe out there. COVID-19 is still here. It has not gone away. And I see people sometimes in crowded situations not wearing their mask. In fact, I was in a couple of stores today on my way to the broadcast, and people were maskless, just walking around as if we were back in 2020 instead of 2022. We need to understand shots are still available. If you have not received your COVID-19 vaccination, you need to get to the nearest pharmacy. Every single pharmacy, whether it's CVS, whether it's Walgreens, whether it's Walmart or Winn-Dixie, doesn't matter. All of the pharmacies have the COVID-19 shot, and you need to get it because this thing is still here and affecting lots of people. So I hope you will do that. If you've had your shots already, thank you. If you have not yet been boosted, and it's been at least 6 months since your first shots, you are eligible for the booster, and the booster will just give you that much more protection. And children, if you have children or grandchildren, they need to also, at this point, 6 months and older. The COVID-19 vaccines have been approved for young children, babies even. 6 months is still a baby. So get the kids vaccinated. It's a great time. They're out of school. They have time on their hands, and you may have time on your hands as well to get them to the doctor. Lynette, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Beloved, thank you so much for tuning in as well. Listen, if you want to give me a call, just pick up the phone, dial those 10 numbers, 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. And when you dial those 10 numbers, you'll be connected to the number one talk show on Thursday from 12 to 1 o'clock here in Daytona Beach. 888-3411. As I said, my guest is going to be arriving in just a couple of minutes, and we want to share with you the event that's going to be happening real soon here in our area so that you can plan to attend and spread the word. But before my guest comes on, I just want to open with the fact that there have been 1 million plus, I think it's the exact number is somewhere around 1.1 million people who have signed a petition to impeach Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. That's right. 1.1 million people have already signed the petition. And if you want to sign that petition, you need to go to moveon.org. Again, the organization that is having this petition drive is Move, M-O-V-E, on, O-N, all one word, moveon.org. Just go to their website. You should see a link to the Clarence Thomas petition. And if you want to join the 1.1 million Americans from across the country who have already signed this petition, you can join the ranks. Move On wants to present this petition to Congress because, you know, impeachment proceedings, whether it's the president or a judge, federal judges can be impeached, removed from office. And so this petition is there to remove Clarence Thomas from the position that he now enjoys as a Supreme Court justice. And there's many reasons for it, not the least of which is the allegations that are coming out about his wife, Jenny Thomas, and her role in the January 6th insurrection. She at first said she would gladly go before the January 6th committee and give, under oath, give sworn testimony to the committee, but now the tune from Jenny Thomas has changed. She now says, or at least her attorney, let me put it this way, her attorney is saying that perhaps she does not want to or need to appear before the January 6th committee. So it sounds like she does not want to be under oath, giving testimony about what her role was or was not as it related to the events of January the 6th. But the petition is specifically designed to get as many signatures across the country, to present that to Congress, and then let Congress decide, and that will be Nancy Pelosi's decision, whether or not to begin the proceedings that would impeach Clarence Thomas. Now, I'm not sure if the threshold for impeaching a Supreme Court justice is the same as that of a president. When the president is impeached, and as you know, number 45 was twice impeached, what saved him was this threshold of needing 60 votes in order for the impeachment to be enforced. And since the Senate right now is split 50-50, and Vice President Kamala Harris is the tie-breaking vote because she is vice president, and therefore in ties she can cast a deciding vote when it's just a majority that is needed. But with that 60 threshold, which is the filibuster threshold, the Senate needs 60 people to vote in the affirmative. And so that leads me to say to all of us how important it is for us to vote in the upcoming November election. We have a challenger to Marco Rubio, former chief of police of Orlando, Val Demings, who is now in the House of Representatives for the state of Florida. She is running against Marco Rubio. And when Marco was running for president, number 45 nicknamed him Little Marco. And even with that embarrassment, Marco Rubio is still a ardent Trump supporter. All right, my guest is on the line, so let's get to my guest, and we'll get back to, don't go anywhere. I'll have my guest for a couple of minutes, but we'll get right back to our news segment after my guest has had the interview completed. I'm delighted to welcome to Let's Chat America Minister Sammy Jackson. If you've never heard that name before, he has been here in the Daytona Beach area, quite active in many areas of ministry and work in the community. And there's an event that's coming up shortly, and that's why he's on the air today to tell us a little bit more about what this event is. Welcome to Let's Chat America, Minister Jackson. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. I'm blessed.
Good. I'm glad to have you on the program. You reached out to me to have you on so that we can kind of share what's going on with the event that you're having. But before we start with that, there may be some people here listening, and we've got people listening on Facebook, on our Facebook live feed. We've got hundreds of people listening to you right now on Let's Chat America. So tell the listeners a little bit about yourself before we get into your organization and what's going on. Just start out with a little bit about who Minister Sammy Jackson is.
Well, I've been in Daytona for maybe about 23 years. I've been working with my ministry. I started in Los Angeles with it and worked my way back to Florida. And I've been involved where I was helping churches raise funds, and most of my even involved in reaching out to young people anywhere that I can. I try to do whatever the Lord showed me or whatever vision the Lord had for me to do, anything to help within the community.
Right. And as I said, you have certainly been involved in several things here in the Daytona Beach area, and now you're moving into this new item, this new event that's coming up that we want to share with the listeners what that's all about. And if you'd like to call the radio, if you want to talk to Minister Sammy Jackson about his event or just say hello, you can do that. Pick up the phone and call 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. Glenn, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Thank you, a friend from the old days back in the neighborhood, for being on the Facebook Live feed today. So, Minister Jackson, your group is called Christian Merging Together Ministries Foundation, which is CMTMF. Yes. So, how did the ministry come about in the first place?
Well, the ministry came to me. I was using it, and God said that it meant unity, and that's what I've been involved with. Pushing unity. I've been pushing unity for a long time because God said that He wanted us to be as in one and together, and that's what I've been working on, pushing togetherness and making a difference in our communities.
Right. So your ministry is about unity and certainly working with young people, and young people today. Certainly, we know that. There's always room for more assistance to be given to the young generation that is currently being raised up today. And that's kind of where your ministry is focused. And that's certainly a noble endeavor and a great ministry as well. So that leads me to why you're here on Let's Chat America today, and that is your upcoming event coming on July the 30th. So tell us what the event is called and why are you having this event?
Praise the Lord. the event, the title is Let God In Street Revival.
Okay.
It's concerning, as I said before, about the young people, but I also encouraging families to come back together because families don't even sit at the table anymore. And we need that togetherness, that love. And I tell you, we just want to wind up. We're reaching out, but we're beginning when we're starting with the leaders. We want the leaders to come together. And the most important part that God laid on my heart is that the leaders come back together and the leaders embrace the community. There's been many people that have been hurt by the church, and God wants the pastors, the ministers, the leaders to embrace and bring them back to the church because they are the lost sheep. And I tell you, we need to bring that back. And most of all, when I say something about the young people, the thing is about when I lived in LA, I seen a lot of the gangs. And when I see that the Saints became, that they was coming back into Florida, and I tell you, and I've been a part of the Stop the Violence. And what God wants the young people to do, to lay down their guns and turn their face to Him.
Okay.
And put the situation into His hand.
All right.
And when young people begin to learn how to love one another and pray for one another and stop shedding blood in our community, on our streets across this nation.
All right. Very well said, Minister Jackson. If you're just tuning in to the broadcast, my guest today is Minister Sammy Jackson. He's got a street revival, Let God In Street Revival, coming July the 30th, and it sounds like it's going to be a great event. If you'd like to pick up the phone and join the conversation, you can do that by calling 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. Let God In Street Revival, July the 30th. So, Minister Jackson, about how many pastors are you hoping to have in attendance at your street revival on July 30th?
At the point where I put in the press release, we was trying to reach 100.
Okay.
We're doing Zoom too, and I have like 350 pastors across the country who are joining by Zoom to be a part of what's going on. And I have a few out of international that are going to join us too.
All right. So the broadcast will be also on Zoom for people to watch the broadcast and pastors to be involved in the Let God In Street Revival. So who are some of the special guests, Minister Jackson? Because I looked at the flyer, and it looks like you're going to be having some special guests. Tell us who the guests are that'll be at the Let God In Street Revival on July the 30th.
I have a young man whose God is really raising up. His name is Thomas Ware. He has a son, and God put him in place to be able to come and sing this song that he just released in February. And the song is Love Me to Death. And the song is letting us know that God loves us. No matter what our faults are or whatever going on in our life, God loves you. And he's going to be performing, and I have Darrell Thomas. He's from the Daytona area, and I have a few more guests that will be coming, but it should be a great experience. God has blessed me with the layout of how to handle and do this, and most of all, I'm telling the people to bring their praise, because I'm telling you, we're going to be praying.
All right.
And we're going to see the miracle of God because we're standing on faith. And this is why I say that we're telling families to bring their family. We're telling everybody to just invite somebody that needs a blessing, somebody that's looking for something from God. God has told me that He's going to be in the midst, and there's going to be miracles. And I tell you, great waters have passed in this country from generation to generation. There have been many times when they have the revival, the people go back to the same thing. But I'm telling you, we got to get in a position if we want to see, because there's people that are hurting. There's people that want to see changes. With all this shooting that's going on, the lady sent me a message yesterday saying it's about time that we're doing something like this. Somebody have to stand up, and I'm asking every pastor out there to stand with me, to stand and accept God's invitation. This is something not coming from me, but it's coming from God. God told me to tell the people to come and accept his invitation.
All right.
And they should see changes. And you know, one verse I like to mention is this. One thing that I hear quoted, and everybody talk about, 2 Chronicles 7:14. And let me tell you something. This is a time that we need to humble ourselves. And we need to really seek God. There's going to be a change in Volusia County. And God says it's going to start here, and it's going to spread.
All right.
And that's why I have it where many people are going to be focused on what's going on right here in Volusia County.
All right. Minister Sammy Jackson is my guest today. He's going to be holding an event called the Let God In Street Revival. It'll be on July the 30th. He's going to give you the location and the times in a little while, but it sounds like it's going to be a great event focusing on reaching those young people. So, Minister Jackson, who's the audience that you're trying to reach? Is it just young teenagers, or is it a broader audience than that?
It's a broader audience. We're focused on the family. We're focused on the young people. We're focused on anybody that needs God's help.
Okay.
And I know we all need God's help. So I'm going to invite a lady asked me if anybody can be a part of it. I say, God welcome all. So there's no particular person. We accept everybody that wants to be a part. And I know that everybody wants to be blessed.
Yeah, that's for real. And when we talk about, and you mentioned it, the problems that we see across the country when it comes to young people, why do you think, Minister Jackson, we're having some of the issues that we see with young folk across the country?
Well, basically what has been given to me, one of the things that we're having problems, especially with school, they took prayer out. And one of the things I always said back in the 90s was that when you took prayer out, you took the covering of God off the school.
All right.
We wind up and take what God has blessed to be put on, and we take it away. We take the protection of God covering away for our safety.
Well, that certainly makes a lot of sense, and we know that when I was growing up, that was how you started out the day in school. You know, was in that classroom, and all of the students, whether they were Christian or Jewish or Muslim, that didn't matter. You pray to the God that you believe in, and all of us did that, and we did it collectively. We did it together, and I just believe that God heard those prayers when we were in school back in the day, and answered a lot of those prayers, because we certainly didn't have school shootings back then, I think a lot of that had to do with asking God to come into the classroom, come into the school, be on the playground, and to cover these children with His tender mercy. And I believe that had a lot to do with how we were raised. So tell us some people may be listening, Minister Jackson, that don't know what a street revival is. So what's going to happen? What are you going to be doing that day in this event?
Well, as I said, we bring in and we're going to honor some pastors. But the most important part of this whole event is to bring the church out from the walls and spread the gospel into the streets.
All right.
And as I was saying about the schools, we also the homes. Parents need to begin to start teaching their kids the word of God in the home. So when the kids leave out, that's why kids leave out. And most times kids do that, they playing all that crazy music and they got all that in their head. And a lot of it leads to a lot of anger. And, you know, we just need to change the atmosphere of our kids by teaching them the word of God. They got something, when they leave with the word of God in them, they got something to use, go through all day to use as a tool.
All right.
But if they don't have it, and they get out there into what's out there in the world, and I tell them what's going to happen.
That's
a lot of parents they should pray for their kids before their kids even step out the door.
Yeah, that's so true. You know, everything I think starts at home. You know, the family is the foundation. It's the foundation, and that's what's going to keep our family safe, keep our children safe. Is when we instill in them these, these ideals of what God is trying to let all of us know about His love and His protection. So, Minister Sammy, tell us I gave the name of the event, Let God In, Street Revival. I gave the date is July the 30th. So give us the location. Give us the location of where it will be and the time.
The location will be at 5000 Greenfield Dairy Road in DeLeon Springs, Florida. The time is 2:00 p.m. It's on a Saturday. And we're looking to have a very exciting time. We are so excited what God is doing because we're seeing God how He's planning and doing things. So we know that He is because we're seeing what God is doing. And God is ready for the people.
All right. So, Minister Jackson, one more time, give us the actual street address and the city. We know it's 2:00 on July the 30th, but give us that street address one more time and the city.
The address again is 5000 Greenfield Dairy Road, DeLeon Springs, Florida, 7 miles north of DeLand, Florida, on Route 11.
All right. All right. Well, there you have it, everybody. Minister Sammy Jackson and the Christian Merging Together Ministries Foundation are having the Let God In Street Revival, July the 30th at 2:00 in DeLeon Springs. Well, Minister Jackson, listen, thank you so much for sharing this information, and we certainly will be praying for the event, and I know that God will give you the outcome that you desire.
Yes, thank you very much, Doctor. And God bless you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate getting the word out there.
Well, bless you.
And God bless you.
Thank you. Keep us in your prayers.
Praise God. God bless you.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. There you have it. The Let God In Street Revival coming to DeLeon Springs. DeLeon Springs, that's in Volusia County, just a short hop from DeLand, just a short hop from Daytona. It's not that far. July the 30th, 2:00. You need to be in the place. If you've got children or grandchildren that you are concerned about, that you pray for every day, this is a great opportunity to get those kids over to the Let God In Street Revival. And they can see other children praising God and worshiping together. And these pastors that are going to be there, you heard Minister Jackson say he's hoping, praying that at least 100 pastors will be there for that event. Some of them will be honored. All of them will be honored just by being in the place, number one. But there will be some special recognition that will be given to pastors as well. So it sounds like it's going to be a great, great event. If you'd like to call, the line is open. And you can give me a call just to say hello, just to say good afternoon. And the number is 386-868-3411, 386-868-3411. As I mentioned in the opening, there is a petition that Move On, that's MOVEON, moveon.org is the website. There's a petition with 1.1 million signers already. And this petition is to ask Congress to impeach the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. You can go to the website. If you want to join that crowd, you can be part of that movement. Democrats are taking some small steps toward reviving President Joe Biden's domestic policy. This is very exciting. Reported in the Huffington Post, the Senate Democrats on yesterday took a step toward advancing a proposal that would lower the price of prescription drugs in America. Listen, if you are on any kind of prescription drug, you know that prescription drugs, the price of prescription drugs is out of control. Right up north, across the border in Canada, they pay a fraction of the cost for the same drugs that we get here in America. They pay a fraction of what we pay. Well, the Democrats on yesterday took a step to create a proposal to lower prescription drugs here in this country. That's reason enough for you to pick up the phone and call me because I know if you're like me, maybe you're not on any prescription drugs, but you know somebody who is, and you've heard them complain about the cost of just trying to stay healthy. And it's sad that the cost of trying to stay healthy, be healthy, remain healthy is so extravagant in this country. It ought to be when drugs are developed. I understand drug makers, they need to recoup the costs of the ingredients and recoup the costs of the workers who are creating the packaging and creating the product. I understand they have to recoup that cost and pay those workers and make sure that those workers are receiving just compensation. But we do know, as I said, that in other countries, they don't pay nearly as much as we do. And so this new proposal, pick up the phone and call me and tell me what you think. 386-868-3411, 386-868-3411. So this new proposal is making progress, and it is hopeful that it will revive President Joe Biden's domestic policy agenda. The initial hope had been to include a drug pricing initiative in the larger, you remember when right after President Biden was elected, he had a whole range of things in his Build Back Better plan, and included in that Build Back Better plan was the lowering of prescription drugs in that plan, and it stalled last year in Congress. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is now trying to craft this smaller version of the Build Back Better plan, or at least include a couple of parts of it that were not in the some of the things that President Biden has already accomplished as parts of that plan. And you know why the plan didn't move, the whole plan as it was crafted didn't move forward, is because of Democrats in name only, like Senator Joe Manchin and like Senator Sinema. Those two who have a D after their name and are supposed to be Democrats, those two almost by themselves sunk the Build Back Better plan. Ellen, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Thank you for being with us today on the broadcast, and others who are coming in. We see you as well. I mentioned Glenn Tony, we see you on the Facebook page as well as many others. Thank you all for being here. So we know that it was Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia, and Senator Sinema, who were two of the main perpetrators that sunk portions of the Build Back Better plan. So now Chuck Schumer is putting out this smaller piece as it relates to prescription drugs. They're still a long way from making it a reality. Schumer and Manchin have not announced any agreement on provisions dealing with climate and energy, nor have they have an agreement now to fix the spike in health care insurance costs under the Affordable Care Act. Those are still things that have to be worked on. Anything that makes the bill expensive could be a problem. Manchin is concerned that more government spending would exacerbate inflation at a time when the cost of living is skyrocketing. But on Wednesday, Schumer submitted to the Senate parliamentarian the text of the prescription drug proposal, according to a source familiar with what's going on in the process. The parliamentarian verifies whether the legislation is allowed under the Senate's internal rules for the budget reconciliation process that Democrats are hoping to use for this legislation. Now, the budget reconciliation process takes away the filibuster, and it takes away the 60 vote threshold, and only then through budget reconciliation can a bill be passed with just 51 votes, a simple majority. And with the Senate split 50-50, the tie-breaking vote is Vice President Kamala Harris. A reconciliation bill can get through the Senate with that simple majority. Democrats want to give the U.S. government the same kind of authority to limit drug prices held by the governments of other developed countries. And that only makes sense. Why should we here in America pay these extraordinary prices for drugs when other countries are paying a fraction of that cost? The proposal would work by requiring Medicare to negotiate prices on some drugs directly with the manufacturer, leveraging the social insurance program's massive buying power to wring savings from these drug makers. Believe me, if Medicare, with millions of people on Medicare, if they were given the ability to negotiate with these drug makers are not stupid. They know that the people taking these drugs are the folks on Medicare who are aging. They are 65 and older. And they know that there are millions of them who are taking these prescription drugs every single day. The new proposal would also cap a Medicare patient's out-of-pocket expense at $2,000 a year. And even $2,000 a year is a lot of money when all you're getting maybe is Social Security or a small pension if you were fortunate enough to work for a company that extended a pension option to you. The Congressional Budget Office has said that a House-passed version of the prescription drug reform would save the government a whole lot of money. And I'm going to give you what the estimate is that it would save the government who pays these Medicare benefits to those who are seniors and are on Medicare. If this bill gets passed, it will save the government about $345 billion. Let me repeat that. $345 billion would be saved over the course of a decade, which is partly why it's the first thing Democrats are advancing, since it meets Joe Manchin's criteria for fiscal responsibility. And that's why I said Joe Manchin is really a Democrat in name only. He's really a Republican. He's from a Republican state. He leans toward Republican policy more than Democratic policy, the Democratic Party policy. And I understand why he does it. He's from a state where the majority of the people living in that state are Republican leaning or Republicans in actuality. So I do understand that. Democrats could use higher tax revenue to offset the cost of additional spending provisions, such as on Obamacare premiums, but face a host of internal disagreements within the Democratic Party on taxes that never got resolved during last year's Build Back Better debate. Democratic leaders do seem to have realized that they can't win Manchin support for previous proposals for things like a child care allowance or paid leave. And so Schumer's decision to press forward with reconciliation could hamper the fate of his other priority this summer, which is a bipartisan legislation aiming at making the United States more competitive with China by boosting research and semiconductor development. Senator Minority Leader Mitch McConnell from Kentucky, Republican, has threatened already to block the bill known as the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act if Democrats don't abandon reconciliation. So Mitch McConnell is holding over the heads of the Democratic Party the killing of the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act if Democrats don't abandon reconciliation. Well, here's the problem. If the Democrats abandon reconciliation, we're right back to needing 60 votes for any legislation to pass in the Senate. And Mitch McConnell knows that it is nearly impossible, if not impossible, to get 10 Republicans to support a Democratic proposal. He knows that. He knows that. And Democrats clearly have to work harder because the Grim Reaper, and that's the name that he has embraced, he likes being called the Grim Reaper, and I'm talking about Mitch McConnell. He said last week, quote, "Let me be perfectly clear, there will be no bipartisan USICA as long as Democrats are pursuing a partisan reconciliation bill," end quote. Democrats clearly have more work to do to pass a reconciliation bill. The prescription drug component is in some ways the easiest part since Manchin has been supportive of its goals all along. He knows in his state of West Virginia, drug prices are out of control as well. Lucretia, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Betty, we see you on Facebook Live as well. If you'd like to pick up the phone, give me a call. The line is open, 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. The January 6th committee is securing right now an interview with Trump White House counsel Pat Cipollone. Now, this is important. From the Huffington Post, the Trump White House top lawyer at the time, Pat Cipollone, is set to appear before the House January 6th committee on Friday. That's tomorrow, which would make him the highest-ranking official from the West Wing to provide testimony to the panel. Cipollone did not immediately respond to a request for comment on multiple media reports that he's agreed to testify behind closed doors. This will not be public testimony for us to watch on television, which is sad. This is going to be done behind closed doors after having previously spoken to the committee informally. He's already informally spoken to the committee, but this is going to be him under oath in private giving testimony to the January 6th committee. The good thing is, although it won't be publicly shown to us, they will be videotaping his testimony. And if you've been watching the January 6th hearings over the last couple of weeks or so, they have been able to integrate taped interviews of witnesses into their hearings. So although you may not hear Cipollone live, I'm more than confident to know that they are going to tape it, and the committee has skillfully used previously taped testimony to be integrated into the public testimony that we're able to watch on television. Ellen, we see your comment about Joe Manchin. At least Manchin listens to his constituents, unlike so many of the elected Republicans. Jackie, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. And Ellen, you're right. He has to listen to his constituents because a great majority of his constituents in West Virginia are on Medicare. He knows that. He needs their votes to stay in office. And I really wish we could get term limits on senators and people in the House of Representatives. There needs to be term limits. You know, you just stay so long and you get so ingrained in obstruction and doing nothing that that's why we're in the position we're in today. Because as soon as they're elected, they go right back to getting reelected. That's their focus. They want to stay in the, and why not? It's one of the most cushiest positions you could have. You work part of the year, not all year. You take breaks more often than anybody on the planet who works a regular job. And so why wouldn't you want to continue to go back to that again and again and again? Term limits at the ballot box have not worked, Ellen says, and you're right, Ellen, but we need them. we need term limits. I mean, we have them in local government, we have them in county government. Well, not here in Daytona Beach. We don't have term limits. A commissioner can be a commissioner for life as long as they keep getting reelected. But there are certain places where term limits, I think, would be very beneficial. So according to testimony already made public by the committee, Cipollone became the bulwark or the main person who was against Trump's attempts to overturn his election loss through all of the various machinations that 45 was going through. And he also, which also included, number 45 also included trying to pressure the Department of Justice to send a letter falsely claiming that there had been significant election fraud to the states that President Biden had won, or invoking the Insurrection Act to declare a formal martial law and seize voting machines. All of this stuff is coming out that 45 wanted the Justice Department to do. And his Attorney General, Mr. Barr, told Trump, at least under oath in his testimony, he said he told 45 that his allegations were BS. I can't say the word here on this channel, but you know what BS means. He said that's what he told him. And eventually, Barr resigned because he recognized the slippery slope that number 45 was traveling down in order to stay in power. Pick up the phone if you'd like to give me a call. It's 48 minutes past the hour. The number to call is 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. So, Cipollone also threatened to resign. This is the White House lawyer, Cipollone. He threatened to resign as well, with others in the office, and he became so well known in 45's inner circle that even Fox News host Sean Hannity wrote a December 31st, 2020 text to the Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, saying, quote, "We can't lose the entire White House counsel's office," end quote. Because that's what Pat Cipollone was getting ready to do. He was going to resign if Trump continued to persist in a lot of this misinformation and disinformation and outright lies. And the entire office of the White House counsel also threatened to resign as well. And in a January 5th, 2021 text, he warned Mark Meadows that, quote, pressure, end quote, on Vice President Mike Pence would backfire. And he said, quote, "White House counsel will leave," end quote. Top 45 advisor and presidential son-in-law Jared Kushner told the committee in a videotaped deposition that he personally did not think much of Cipollone's repeated threats. Kushner said, quote, "I know him and the team were always saying we're going to resign, we're not going to be there if this happened, or if that happens, so I kind of took it as just being whining, to be honest with you," end quote. Now that's Jared Kushner's statement, that he took it as being the White House counsel whining over what number 45 wanted to do, which was unprecedented in American history, to remain in power after the people had decided that he should be removed as president and Joseph R. Biden put in his place. The people made that choice. And whether you like it or not, in the way that our government has been structured, George Washington set the precedent of a peaceful transfer of power. And did you know, I need to share this little tidbit with you. All of us remember the Civil War, which was the South rising up because they wanted to hold on to the culture of slavery in the South. I'll get back to this in just a minute. I think we have a caller. Let's see if we can get them on the line. Caller, welcome to Let's Chat America. What is your question or your comment?
Great afternoon, Bishop. Great hearing you on the call this morning. This is Lucretia Ramos again.
Yes. Hi, Lucretia.
I wanted to comment. Good afternoon. I wanted to comment regarding your statement about the new testimony that is going to come public here soon after it's being videotaped. My only concern is that, as we all know, they are so great at deflecting. Unless we have hardcore proof like a text message, an email, or a phone call or video or some sort, 45's administration is very good about deflecting or saying somehow that this is hearsay. So I don't know what they're looking to get out of these testimonies if they're not going to have actual proof, actual hardcore proof. But I understand this is part of the process, but unless they have, like I said, unless they have that hardcore, tangible proof, he's going to deflect, just like he did with the young lady that was threatened for her testimony. She almost didn't even make it to the courthouse because they were threatening her life. But again, he was like, I don't even know her. They always find a way of deflecting. So I'm just wondering exactly how is this next testimony going to actually go against the administration, and is it going to work this time? Because you have so many people that have had to sign NDAs, that have been silenced and threatened in order to come clean. But to the fact that, where has it gotten us? You know, I'm just wondering if it's ever going to come to a head. But that's what I wanted to say. I appreciate the show. Thanks again. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much, Lucretia, for calling, as always, and we appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you to Lucretia for that those comments, and certainly she made some valid points. We know that all of this is pointing towards, well, the whole reason for the January 6th committee to be established was to uncover what transpired leading up to the insurrection at the Capitol, and whether or not in building up to that event and that day, were there criminal acts that were committed in order to bring all of those people to the Capitol building all at the same time. And so it's all about who planned it, who was in the room talking about it, who was financing it, and what was it that they were trying to do. And ultimately, what number 45 was trying to do was to have his vice president reject the will of the people, install new electors, false electors, from the states that they wanted to target, and those states were states like Georgia and Pennsylvania and several others, and have these fake electors cast new electoral college votes that would favor Trump in the majority over Joe Biden. But the plot failed for several reasons. One, and probably the most important one, was Vice President Pence would not go along with the plan. That was critical. He sought advice, and had he gotten different advice, who knows what would have happened. But the people that he talked to told him his only role as vice president historically was to count the votes. He had no authority to remove electors, put in place new electors. He had no authority to throw those electoral ballots back to the states. None of that. And so at least the people giving him that advice gave him the right advice. So it's all of this is pointing toward the criminality of the events of January the 6th. And that's why the January 6th committee is being very deliberate. They've got to move quickly, because in November, I don't know which way it's going to go, but I hope we maintain both the House of Representatives and the Senate, because if we don't, the first thing that will be removed by a new Senate will be this January 6th committee. They will kill it as dead as a doornail should they win the majority on day one. So this committee has to move quickly. They've got to get all the evidence that they can get. If there are criminal referrals that need to be made, they need to make those to the Justice Department before the November election. And then leave it up to Merrick Garland to decide what he's going to do with this evidence. Because his role as a Attorney General for the United States of America is, if there is federal crimes that have been committed, the federal government needs to pursue whoever the perpetrators are. And I want to get back to what I was going to tell you about Abraham Lincoln, because I try to bring you something every week that you may not have heard or may not have studied in school. When the South rose against the North, or when there was a fracture of this country, North versus South, over the issue of slavery, Abraham Lincoln wrote a memo. And in this memo, Abraham Lincoln said, if the South, and this is all about conceding as president. George Washington started the practice. It held firm up until this number 45 got in office. But Abraham Lincoln wrote a memo that he had all of his cabinet members sign. Every one of them signed the memo. And in this memo, Abraham Lincoln said, if Jefferson Davis and the South win, I will step down as president of the United States. Did you know that? Thank God the South did not win, or I certainly wouldn't be here on this broadcast today. I'd be out in a field somewhere picking cotton, or in some master's house serving him tea and crumpets. So if Abraham Lincoln, in the throes of the Civil War, understood his role as president and the peaceful transfer of power, even after a bloody insurrection, how is it that this guy perpetrates these lies and so many people believe it? They believe him. And they believe him because it is a cult. And the cult leader, whatever the cult leader says, is what they believe. I've got to go. It's 1 o'clock. You've been listening to the number one broadcast here on Joy 106.3 FM. This is Let's Chat America. I will be putting this video on our YouTube channel. So if you want to listen to it again, it will be there sometime later this afternoon. I've got to go through all the process of putting it up on YouTube, but we will do that. You can listen to it again, and I want to thank you for listening. Be right back here next week for another exciting broadcast here on Let's Chat America. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program here on Let's Chat America, broadcast from the world's most famous beach. To request Dr. Durham to speak at your event, please call 386-451-5114. Again, that's 386-451-5114. Tune in next Thursday, 12 noon, for another powerful program hour here on Joy 106.3 FM.
WAIGLP, Daytona Beach, Joy 106.3. Tune in to the